with this huge announcement that happened a few months ago about the establishment of the IWGP Women's Championship. This is very historic for many, many reasons. And so in your opinion, what does this new title mean for both New Japan Pro Wrestling and World Wonder Ring Stardom, and potentially women's wrestling around the world?
I think what we saw at Royal Quest is kind of an example of what it's going to mean for women across the world, because the match between Alpha Female Jazzy Gabbert and Ava White was the first ever singles match in a New Japan ring between them. There have been many, not many, there have been several tag team matches with women in New Japan throughout the years. And so I think that's going to be a thing of what it's going to mean, especially for women's wrestlers around the world, because that's kind of a belt that's going to be, from what Stardom and New Japan have said, that's a belt that's going to be going around the world. So that means a lot of people are going to have the opportunity to work for a very large promotion that pays very well, that they might not have been if they don't work for one of the 2 or 3 bigger promotions in the United States. And it's also, speaking of going to like Lucha Libre Mexico, that could mean something for women there, which they don't always have the same opportunities yet in Mexico. So I think it's going to be a big thing for women around the world. And for Stardom, it means there's going to be women attached to the IWGP brand. And that kind of brand, when you're talking about a main title, is excellence of wrestling. So that's going to be good. And I think that's going to help bring eyeballs on Stardom. And I think that's kind of the goal here, is to get people to go watch Stardom. And New Japan is going to have, the title on their events. But I think the biggest goal here is to have Stardom, come to the United States, to come to Oceania, to come to the UK and have Stardom shows. And I think that's kind of what Kidani's always said. The representative director of Bushiroad always kind of said he wants to bring, because what he did when he first stepped in when Bushiroad purchased New Japan, is that he wanted to bring in more women, and which is a different thing in Japan. The last time I saw numbers, it was about 60-40 male to female audiences that were attending live events for New Japan. It might even be closer to 55-45 now. In the United States, I think it's like 95-5 male to the female. That's a big difference. So the big goal for him is always to bring more women to the product, and that's also his goal for Stardom. He wants to bring in more women fans to feel safe and enjoy it, because even at Wrestle Kingdom and shows, there are women-only sections where they were like, you can be here, be a fan, scream all you want, and no one's going to bother you. So I think that is one of the big things that Stardom is going to try to bring in, more women to events around the world, and bring more domestically in Japan as well. So I think it's a great thing for Stardom and its growth. And I think if they get in international eyeballs on Stardom and they start subscribing to Stardom World, it's going to mean more money, and there's going to be more women brought in, more people, everyone gets paid more. And then that I think could be the real boom for women's wrestling, when you have a women's promotion doing that well and outperforming most male promotions around the world. I think is when you can, because that's what AJW was doing in the 80s. They outsold New Japan and All Japan in ticket sales, meaning not revenue from the tickets. That's a debated thing, but I think that's a thing that Stardom can realistically do if they continue on its trajectory, and IWGP lineage will definitely help with that.